Just to be sure, there's a spoiler. Rick and Morty has continued to experiment with unique storylines and episode formats throughout the years, but Season 8 just confirmed a harsh reality when it comes to the show's solo episodes. As the name suggests, Rick and Morty is all about its two titular characters, who constantly embark on all kinds of crazy adventures. While the rest of the Smith family are prevalent parts of the series alongside some frequently recurring side characters, Rick and Morty's best episodes usually involve the two protagonists at the heart of the action, making it a huge gamble doing solo adventures. Even when their stories aren't intertwined, both Rick and Morty are usually involved in every episode to some degree, but Valkyrick decided to completely sideline Morty, just like Rise of the Numbericons, the movie did with Rick last season. Interestingly, this risk seemed to pay off, as Rick and Morty Season 8's good reviews continued with Episode 2, gaining a mostly positive reception. Valkyrick may be far from the franchise's best episode, and it fell a little short of Season 8's premiere, but its solid performance pointed out an interesting detail when it comes to the show's more isolated stories. Welcome to Movie Spy. Valkyrick proves that Rick and Morty can still thrive even without Morty. Rick's adventure with Space Beth didn't suffer much without Morty. Despite not featuring Morty, Valkyrie provided plenty of humor and entertainment throughout the episode, proving a story without one half of the main duo can work. Season 8, Episode 2, probably won't go down as one of Rick and Morty's most popular adventures, but it didn't feel out of place either, fitting in seamlessly with the show's usual style. Whereas the lack of Rick in Rise of the Numbericons, the movie was instantly noticeable, Valkyrick looked right at home and had more than enough action and suspense to keep viewers hooked, making Morty's absence easy to forget about. Given Rick and Space Beth's relationship has so much potential to be explored, seeing the duo take center stage felt long overdue, and their chemistry was perfect. Their battle against the Grom Flomites left me wanting more, and with Space Beth possibly becoming a regular part of Rick and Morty Season 8's cast, it hopefully won't be the last we see her team with Rick. Regardless, watching them work together and exploring their similarities was a lot of fun, and Rick's connections across the multiverse meant we also got the return of Bird Person and Bird Daughter without their cameos feeling forced. It isn't the first time Rick has starred without Morty, as Rick-ternal friend Shine of the Spotless Mort saw Morty deliver just a single line during the entire episode. Once again, this adventure proved to be pretty popular among viewers, reinforcing the idea that Morty's presence isn't always required, considering Rick's solo episodes managed to thrive without him. Rise of the Numbericons proved that the series can't work without Rick. Morty's solo episode is currently the worst-rated outing in Rick and Morty's history. Although Rick and Morty has still shined without Morty, Rick's only absence hurt the show drastically. We may only have a small sample size of one episode, but Rise of the Numbericons, the movie, confirms that the show's only attempt to function without Rick simply didn't work. Part of the problem was that Water T felt like the episode's main character, meaning Morty wasn't even the star of his own solo adventure. However, without Rick by his side, the teenager just didn't feel as interesting as he usually does. This isn't to say Morty always needs Rick to be compelling, as his story with Planet in a Rick Convenient Mort provided some of his best character work, but considering Rise of the Numbericons became Rick and Morty's lowest-rated episode, it's hard to argue that his individual outing was anything other than a flop. Therefore, even if the show wants to focus solely on Morty again in the future, it would be a huge risk to exclude Rick completely. Instead, giving him a side story or allowing him to clean up Morty's mess would be the safer route to go. Why Rick and Morty works without Morty but not Rick? Rick has so many enemies and allies across the multiverse that can create an engaging dynamic. Considering both characters are crucial to making the series so great, it seems surprising that Rick and Morty can succeed without Morty but not without Rick. However, there is a reasonable explanation. While Morty has plenty of aspects that make him a fascinating character, his influence is mainly limited to his dimension's version of Earth. Sure, he has traveled across the multiverse with his grandfather, but he hasn't made too many enemies or allies that allow him to carry out his own adventures, whereas Rick is one of the most iconic beings across every possible dimension. Stories involving Morty's school or home life feel far more logical than something like the Numbericon episode, which was a lot more random. In contrast, Rick thrives on the chaos of meeting random characters, as his history means he can shine alongside almost anyone. Had he not been paired with Space Beth, Rick could easily have thrived alongside Bird Person, Mr. Poopy Butthole, Mr. Nimbus, or anyone else in the Smith household. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Morty, who has a much more limited scope when it comes to crazy storylines taking place across different dimensions. Perhaps giving him a new love interest in Rick and Morty Season 8 or potentially following up on his betrayal of Choi could make for great solo adventures. But their personalities and motivations make it far easier for Rick to function without Morty rather than vice versa. Rick and Morty should still give Morty another solo episode. He deserves at least one more chance to shine on his own. His last solo episode may not have gone to plan, but I don't think Rick and Morty should give up on giving Morty an individual adventure just yet. It may be difficult to find a plot that really helps get the best out of Morty without having Rick involved, but I believe there's still plenty of untapped potential surrounding his character. Rise of the Numbericons failed to utilize many major side characters, with Mr. Goldenfold and Water T being the main recognizable names featured in the episode, who simply aren't complex enough to be given such big roles. As a result, pairing Morty with Summer would provide a real chance to focus on their sibling dynamic without getting Rick involved, a concept that has a lot of depth to explore. Morty attempting to go on adventures without Rick has been done before, but focusing on him getting over his reliance on Rick, a story that was kickstarted in Season 7's finale, would also have a lot of potential and could be far more compelling to the audiences than the Numbericons ever were. Thanks for watching.